Hello and welcome back to the Everyday Leadership series. My name is Dr. Rochelle Delia, and of course, in this series, we are talking about leadership principles to help you win in both your personal and professional life. And I am incredibly pleased to welcome Mr. Gordon Tredgold on the series today. Gordon is a former corporate warrior who successfully delivered complex $100 million projects and ran $300 million departments and has led global teams of over 1,000 person staff members. He's helped clients reduce operational costs by over $350 million, increase performance by anywhere from 50 to 500%, and has helped entrepreneurs triple their revenue all in just 12 months. He's remarkable. Now, Gordon's highly sought after keynote speaker on leadership, employee engagement, as well as operational excellence. He's been recognized by global gurus as the top 10 leadership expert and speaker. Gordon's work has been featured in Forbes, Business Insider, Inc., Entrepreneur, Fortune, and Addicted to Success. So you know why he was invited to be on this series. He's written 4 books, and his last book, Fast, was a finalist in the Chartered Management Institute's Management Book of the Year. Gordon, welcome to the Everyday Leadership series. So happy to have you here.
Thank you. And I'm also CEO of Leadership Principles Limited.
There we go. There we go. Sorry, I forgot that part off.
And just when you mentioned leadership principles, I was like, yep, I know that name.
I love it. This is, obviously it's an honor to have someone with your caliber and expertise on the series. So, I'd love to just kind of start the conversation. Tell us, what does leadership mean to you?
What does leadership mean to me? That's a great question. I think my main answer would be leadership it's the difference between success and failure. If you don't have, if companies don't have good leadership, then they're going to struggle to succeed. And if companies have good leadership, then they put themselves in a much better position to succeed. If you asked me how would I define it as an activity? For me, leadership, it's about me as a leader putting my teams, my people in a position where they can be successful. That's my only job, set the direction and then put them in the position where they can be successful. So when I say it's the difference between success and failure, if you take on that activity of putting your teams in a position where they'll be successful, you're going to be good to go. Most people want to be successful. It's not rocket science.
Well, talk to us a little bit more about that, because some people do think that success is this elusive, rocket science barrier that no one or only a select few can achieve. So talk to us a little bit more about, if I'm the leader, what are some of the things that I can do to help put my people, my teams into a position where they can be successful, where it doesn't feel this elusive, esoteric type of thing.
So my book Fast, which was a finalist in Management Book of the Year, which we're offering people the free audio copy. In that, I talk about 4 reasons why things fail, and it's about a lack of focus. We're not clear on what our goal and objective is. It's about a lack of accountability, which is about the who. Have we told people what we expect and what their involvement is? Have we kept it simple? And that's about the how. Do we know how we are going to be successful? And then transparency. Do we know what's involved? If you and I want to have a baby, we need to be aware that it's going to take 9 months. If we commit to any date less than 9 months, we're doomed to fail. And then the second part of transparency, it's about having a feedback mechanism which tells us where we are on the journey. So if we're 20% in, have we achieved 20% of the outcome? If we have, good job, well done. If not, what do we need to do to succeed? So as leaders, we need to make sure we're clear about the what, the who, the how, and how far. And if you take care of just those 4 simple things, they are what cause 95% of all initiatives to fail. And we talked about my career But really, where I really made my name was a turnaround expert. So I would come in to turn around failing projects, and they were failing because of a lack of focus or accountability, simplicity or transparency, or a combination thereof. And if you take care of those four things, not only will you avoid failure, you'll put your teams on a fast track to success.
I love that. And it sounds very, holistic, because it's easy to lose focus when,
Oh,
I think that's the one that stands out to me the most, because shiny object syndrome is something that I think a lot of us succumb to, particularly when you want success so badly. How do you help people stay focused and not kind of get deterred along the path when you want to succeed, you want to do everything that you can, but all ideas aren't something that are good to implement most immediately. So how do you help
yes.
people kind of stay focused in that regard?
So there's two aspects to focus. There's the how do I maintain focus, which is what you're asking about, and I'll come on to that. But there's the other aspect of is what is our focus? And I talked about 4 reasons for failure. Those are the 4 causes: focus, accountability, simplicity. There's only 2 reasons why we fail. We're doing the wrong job, or we're doing a poor job. That's it, from a simplistic perspective. And the majority of times I find people are doing the wrong job. They are focused on the wrong thing. And it doesn't matter how well you do the wrong thing.
Right.
You are never going to be successful. The greatest wrong job done of all time is going to be a failure. So we need to make sure that we're focused on the right thing. And a lot of times that comes about because, we're under pressure. Everything's faster, better, cheaper, faster, better, cheaper. Dive in, get it done now. But Einstein says if he had an hour to save the world, he'd spend 55 minutes understanding the problem and 5 minutes fixing it. Whereas we have, it's a luxury if we get 5 minutes to try and understand it. We'd be more inclined to spend 55 minutes or 59 minutes trying to solve it. But if you don't take the time and you are focused on the wrong thing, then the 59 minutes of effort fixing it are wasted. So we've got to take the time to, before we rush in to think. And and people ask, well, is this a leadership issue? Peter Drucker says management is about making sure we're doing things right. Leadership is about making sure we are doing the right things. So this is absolutely a leadership job. And we can lose our focus or get the wrong focus when we're given too many things to do. And when everything's a focus, nothing is a focus. Right. And if time becomes an issue, and I've got to pick one of 3 or 4 things to do, and I don't know which is the most important because that hasn't been explained to me, I might end up focusing on the least important thing. And whilst I might make progress against it, if it's the least important, I'm probably focusing on the wrong thing again. So we need to make sure we're focused on the right thing. And I think one of the things that causes to lose focus is that we might be focused on the wrong thing and we put all this effort in and we don't see any progress. And it's like, screw this. Why am I wasting my time? I'll go, I want to be successful. I'll go and find something I can do, which again might be the wrong thing, but I want to feel good about doing something. So I'll choose what I can do in order to make progress, and that might be the wrong thing. Another thing that causes us to lose focus, again, it comes back to complexity. It's so difficult to focus on things that are complicated.
Yes.
So we have to simplify. If it's simple, it's easy to understand, it's easy to focus. If it's complicated, then again, and if we're not making a lot of progress, even if it's the right thing, If it's complex and we're not making progress, we'll become frustrated and we'll find something simpler and easier to do. And then there's all of the things like the interruptions, I have the same problem. My computer will say, oh, you've got an email. And I think, oh, I'll just go see what that is. But that interruption, it might only take me 10 seconds to read the email, but that's not a 10-second interruption. My thinking's gone. Now I've got to get back on a track. Oh, there's another email that I hadn't seen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to just tumble down, rabbit holes. So we've got to, try and keep ourselves away from the distraction and get a good feedback loop. If we can see ourselves making progress, we'll continue towards success. If we don't see progress, then, as I say, I'll focus on something else. I want to be successful. I want to feel like my time's been well spent.
Right. And I think that's something that a lot of people can resonate with. Like if I feel like I'm working hard, but I'm not seeing any tangible fruits of my efforts, then it feels like you're wasting your time. And it feels like, well, I should go and do something else because clearly this is not working.
This
right.
is not working.
And whether or not that's true, some things require let's say you to dig a deeper foundation than others. But this
is where for me, transparency is important, because if I want to lose 20 pounds in 20 weeks, then I need to be clear that I'm probably going to lose £2 a week for the first 2 or 3 weeks, but then it's going to get harder. And towards the end, I'm going to be losing £1 every 3 weeks. And you've got to be able to see that, how's progress going to be, so that when it gets tough, to understand, what, this is normal. You've lost £0.25 this week. That's okay. That's what we expect. You're still making good progress. Keep going. But if we don't have that, or if it's something where you make limited progress at the start and you're going to make more progress at the end, if you don't know that, you just see this, and again, it's just like, screw this. I don't know if I'm doing a good job or a bad job.
Right.
And then we quit and do it. I mean, one of the things I always talk about, one of my key phrases is, people are not afraid of hard work. They're afraid of failure.
Yes.
So we have to show them how they can be successful in order to get them started and committed. And then we need to show them they are being successful. And when we show people how to be successful and that they are being successful, that'll keep them focused, on the path to success.
I like that. I think a lot of leaders don't spend enough time helping the people that are following them, show them that they are being successful, via that here's a roadmap of what success looks like. Here's a checklist of, items that I want. Here are milestones along the way. These are key performance metrics that we want to monitor. Instead it's just go do the thing and keep doing the thing. And it is very easy to get discouraged in that way. And I really appreciated the distinction.
Absolutely. As leaders, we have to do that.
Right.
We have to
Everybody needs that.
Yeah. I mean, where does, we talk all the time about motivation, but motivation for me is secondary. What we need to start with is aspiration and then inspiration. And aspiration is about making them want to do it, showing them why this is a good thing, why it has a higher value, a higher purpose.
Right.
Show them what's in it for them, and that'll make them want to do it. Then inspiration comes from creating belief. And if you show them that, if they want to do it and they believe they can do it, now they'll go and start it themselves. The motivation is that last part. How do you keep them on the track? And that's by showing them you're 20% of the way there, you're 40% of the way there. And if they're 40% of the way there after 35% of the time, so they're ahead of schedule, people will go even faster and harder, and you can get stuff done in 80% of the time. But if they don't see that, and if they're not getting the recognition You know, they want to recognize their own effort is being converted into output, which is the first level of recognition. And then the second is, good job, well done. Oh my God, you are awesome. And how much does that cost?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Just time.
Return on investment, huge, huge. Everybody, every single leader should be a CRO, a Chief Recognition Officer. It costs nothing, and the returns on investment are huge, huge. And even if you don't have anything, I always talk about, you know, when do we recognize? What do we start to recognize? And a lot of people say, you know, when you recognize too much, you should only recognize results. And then I ask them, so how many results have you achieved so far with your teams? And they'll say, you know, not that many. Yeah, well, my team are knocking it out of the park, because I start by recognizing effort.
Yeah.
What gets recognized gets repeated. So if they put in a good effort, you know, if you hit a rock with a hammer, it might not break the first time or the second time or the third time, but it might break the fourth time. But it needs those first 3 hits to weaken it. So you recognize the effort, get it repeated, and then when they hit the goal, you know, a slightly bigger positive feedback for woohoo, good job, well done. People love it. People love it. They will queue up to work for you if you are a Chief Recognition Officer. Has Maslow's hierarchy of needs after security, safety, food and shelter, recognition. Everybody craves it.
That is so true. And it's, you know, I think one of the things that I've always struggled with is if a manager is saying, you know, kind of to your point, I don't, you know, effort means nothing. You know, I only recognize results, you know, or you've been trying this for so long, you know, where are the results? You've been doing this for 3 months. Where are the results? Where are the results? And it's like, you know, you can't always, sometimes you have to disengage from the outcome, because you can only track the effort and, you know, what you put towards something on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, sort of speak. And so I really love this reframe of, you know, you're a Chief Recognition Officer. Your job is to help the person, basically give them the motivation, give them the aspiration, the inspiration, and then the motivation towards the idea.
You look beautiful today.
Love it. I'm good. Let's have a webinar every single day.
Like, when I tell you look great today, people automatically feel better about themselves. Do you think they do better work when they feel better about themselves?
Of course they do.
Flattery gets you everywhere. Seriously. You know, so make your teams feel good about themselves. You know, tell them you're looking good today, even if they're not. You know, even if they're not putting any effort in, just go, "Wow, you look like you're ready and raring to go." You know, it's really? Going to make them feel valued and appreciated. Right. It's what we want them to do. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it's like I feel bad when I say this, but I say it with all sincerity. You know, recognition's a drug and I'm the dealer. So, you know, I'll tell you, you're looking great today. And then I just raise the bar of where you're going to get your next little bit from. You did.
Now your whole team is a fiend.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, you're looking ready to go. Okay, give me more. Well, you need to do a little bit more. You know, right. So you're just like raising, and people will follow it. You know, they crave recognition. You know, I've improved performance by 50 to 500%. But when we got up to the 400-500%, people were coming to me and saying, "Hey, do you think it would be a good idea if I did that?" I'm like, "Absolutely, you're a genius." So now they get recognition for coming up with the idea, and then they would go and achieve it. So they started setting their own targets and telling me, "This is what we're going to do." So I'm no longer leading; they're leading themselves, and I'm just the head of the cheering section. And as leaders, that's where we want to get to now. Is it easy? No, there's a lot of hard work at the start. You've got to, you know, build their confidence up, get them the tools, get them the things they need to do that. But, you know, once you get that ball rolling, you know, I've done jobs where I've had to work 12, 14 hours a day in order to get the team on track. And then after that, I'm working like 8 hours a day. And of those 8 hours a day, 4 hours, I'm looking for things to do because my team are just being successful in my absence. And this is what we want to be creating: self-sufficient teams that will set their own goal. And then if they're tracking and monitoring their own progress, they actually generate their own recognition through seeing the achievement. And then they just bring the achievement for you and just say, awesome, good job, well done. Wow, you guys have hit it out of the park again.
That's wonderful. Who doesn't love that? And you made the point of the distinction between leadership versus management. How management is making sure that, are you doing things right, versus leadership is making sure I'm doing the right things. And I think that distinction is, one, that's something that I think those ideas can collapse upon themselves if you don't identify the dichotomy between the two of them. So, kind of along those lines, what do you think is one leadership trait or quality that most people tend to overlook?
I think recognition. I really do think recognition. I've worked with people, I had a head of HR who said to me, you recognize people way too much. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, we recognize them every month when we pay them their salary. And I was like, dude, the salary is the table stakes. That gets them to come to work. It's leadership that makes them do a good job. And he was like, no, people don't need recognition. And I was a bit devious, I'm not going to lie. And I said, but recognition makes people feel better about themselves. And, once they're feeling good about them, they're doing a good job, they're feeling good about themselves, it encourages them to do a better job. And he said, no, you're wrong. So I waited 2 weeks and I went around to see him. And I went into his office and he said, yeah, what can I do for you? I said, I just wanted to come around and just say, thank you for the awesome advice about not giving recognition, because you are so right. People, I am cheapening the things that people do by just making them feel good about themselves. And it was like, oh, thank you. I really appreciate your feedback.
A little reverse psychology there.
You see what I did? And, I never told him because I didn't want to, bust the illusion, but I came out of there thinking, sucker. And the reality was, the reason he didn't want me to give feedback, or he didn't want to give feedback, was he wasn't getting feedback. And feedback's reciprocal. If I tell you, you're looking beautiful today, you'll say, you know what, you're not looking so bad yourself.
Of course.
You might tell me that if I don't say anything. So one of us has to initiate the feedback. And I worked with a team and they said, the business, we were doing IT solutions and building systems for the business, and they said the business never tells us we did a good job. And I said, did you tell them they did a good job when they gave you the requirements? No, why would we? It's like, well, without good requirements we can't build a good system. So next time, start telling the business that they give us great requirements. So we start, they said, really? I'm like, just do it. So they went, we had the meeting and it was like, oh, by the way, these requirements, perfect, really allow us to do a good job. And they're like, oh, thank you. And the system you delivered last time, that was really good. If you want to be recognized, if you want to drive performance, recognize people. If you want recognition, recognize people. People will pay it back to you in spades.
It's so simple, and this is honestly the treat other people how you want to be treated.
Correct.
Honestly, this is
correct.
Is this rocket science? No. Is it fun? But do people do it? No, they don't. And we're so resistant to making the other person almost feel like they're getting ahead of us for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's almost like I can't praise you too much because that'll make me look bad. No,
right. This is not a zero-sum game. This is an additive collaboration. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And there's a lot of things like that that are reciprocal. Trust is another thing. People will tell me, you're too trusting. And I said, well, how do you go about it? He said, well, people have to earn my trust. And I said, I don't trust you. Then why not? I said, because you just told me you don't trust people until they've earned it. And that's an indication of who you are as a person, not who they are. It's like, how can you say that when I didn't say that? You said that. You said I'm not a trusting person. And usually that comes from a sense of not feeling trustworthy or not being trustworthy.
Correct.
You know,
Just
and they're
a bit
like,
of
how dare you? And I was like, hey, you started it. I trust everybody because I know I'm trustworthy.
exactly, just a bit of a background. Obviously, this is a collaboration, between the two of us. And,
Yeah.
I reached out to a few other experts, and it's so interesting how the person's reaction is so much more of a reflection on how they view the world
Correct.
than what the project actually is.
Yeah.
There are some people that I reached out to and they're like, oh my goodness, this is such a wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much. It'll be an honor. I'd love to collaborate. And how can I be additive and contributive?
Yeah.
Other people are like, oh my goodness. So like, you want me to participate in your thing? And it's like, no, this is a collaboration. This is
Scarcity mindset. Scarcity
exactly.
mindset.
Exactly.
I have an abundant mindset. Do you know how much recognition I've got left in the tank? It's full.
Yes.
It never ends. It's the horn of plenty. It never runs out. There's not
That's
like
what you
a
want.
limited amount, and if I give people too much, I might not get my share. There's an unlimited amount of it. And it's like people say, well, what happens if you trust somebody and they proved not to be trustworthy? And I said, what happens if you don't trust somebody and they are trustworthy? How's that going to make them feel? Well, I don't tell them, no, but you show it. I can tell whether people trust me or not. I have a degree of empathy and understanding and emotional intelligence that allows me to perceive people, and I can perceive you don't trust me. So how do you think it makes me feel? Doesn't make me feel warm and loving towards you. And it makes me not want to trust you and not want to trust you. I was going to trust you, but now you've come over not trustworthy.
Not much anymore.
And have people ever let me down? Absolutely.
Of course.
1% of the time, 2% maybe. So does being let down 2% of the time justify me not trusting anybody?
No.
No. Trust people, show them, let them feel it, and then they'll trust you. And then we have a circle of a trust that just rolls back on each other. People do better work when they feel trusted. And people tell me, I've given this job to Bob, but I don't trust him to do it. Well, why did you give it to him? Right. What does that say about you? What is it you don't trust?
You're the one that put him in control.
If you don't believe he has the skills, why would you give a job to somebody that doesn't have the skills for it? Mm-hmm. And are you going to hold them accountable when they fail now? Because if Bob doesn't have the skills and you give him the job and he fails, you know whose fault that is, right?
Your fault.
Your fault. And I often talk about this, that leaders who like to blame kills engagement stone dead. It kills execution, it kills trust. But as a leader, if you want to know who to blame, there's a tool that is very cheap, easy to use. It's called a mirror. The longer you stare into it, the clearer the person who's to blame will become.
Well said.
You are in charge. You are accountable. Now we talk about, shit rolling downhill, but actually it rolls up. You are accountable. Mm-hmm. And you can blame as many people as you want, but ultimately you're accountable.
Yeah.
And blame's such a terrible thing, because when we blame, if I blame you for the poor quality of this video, I'm giving you the responsibility to fix it. And if there's something on my side that I could do, I'm not going to do it because I blamed you. I've pushed responsibility away. Whereas if I take ownership and ask, what can I do to fix this? You know, it might have been caused by you, but I might have the solution on my side to do something about it. But if I'm blaming, I'm just abdicating any responsibility for finding the solution. I'm not even going to look.
Right.
How does that help me? How does that help me? There's a great story that I often tell when I'm speaking about two German companies, Deutsche Bahn and Lufthansa. The Deutsche Bahn is a rail company, and their trains were late. So they fired the CEO and they brought in a new CEO. Message is clear: you're the CEO. You're accountable for our on-time arrival. You know, previous guy didn't fix it. He's gone. You're the new guy. And Lufthansa had the same issue. And the CEO of Lufthansa, do you know who he blamed for their planes being late? Passengers. He sent a letter to passengers saying, please turn up on time. You're causing our planes to be late.
Huh.
What was that fixing? That person you've written to might never fly Lufthansa again.
No.
You haven't fixed it. You've pointed a finger at nobody in particular. And you know the passengers aren't going to put together a user group on how can we fix this.
Right.
You just think, what an asshole. Nothing to do with I was on time and your planes were late. But you know, by doing that, you just deflect it and you're giving somebody else accountability to fix it. Leaders don't do that. We take ownership, because with ownership, that allows us to take action. And with action, we might solve it. Blame is about, you know, a refusal to take any action. And if you don't take any action, you're not going to remediate the situation. Good luck with that as a strategy.
Right. Right. No, I
Leadership
think that
is easy. It's easy. Difficult to do, but it's easy.
You know,
Simple.
and to your point, it is difficult to do. So let's say someone is like, okay, you know, I need to give recognition to my team. I recognize how important that is. And I recognize that people tend to overlook this. So outside of recognition, if you had to focus on one skill or one action to help people excel in either their personal life or their professional career, what would it be?
If I had to give people one tip to be better at what they do.
Yes. What skill should they focus on? So I'm giving people recognition, but like, what skill?
Well, that's what I would do. That's what I would give them to help them. I think, you know, what my team need to do in order to be better or to do a better job. I think a lot of that depends on a lot on what they're lacking, and I think given that the majority of initiatives fail because people are focused on the wrong thing, I would say seek clarity on the outcome, not on the task that needs to be done, but on the outcome. You know, if I want you to lose weight, I could tell you to do that by eating salads, but you know, you might eat salads all day, every day, and not lose the weight. So I think, you know, focus on understanding what the outcome is that's required, and then feel empowered to change the approach to deliver the outcome. Because you know, you might be eating salad, but that might not work for you. You know, you might be better off skipping a meal or whatever. So yeah, I would say focus on understanding the outcome of what it is we're trying to do.
I think
And
that's
if it was
good.
the second thing, it would be why. Then you'll know, you know, if you know why it's important and what's the outcome we're looking for, I think that will help people. Because too often we're focused on the wrong things.
Right. Right. And it's so
And
easy to focus on
if
that.
your boss won't fix that, then you need to try and own fixing that.
Yeah.
And if you know why, and if you know why and what, and those two things don't line up, then it's going to be an indication that one of the two, you didn't understand one of the two things.
Right. Right. I feel like we've covered a lot here. When we start focused on the four things, that are in your book fast, and then kind of dove deeper a lot on focus and clarity, which, of course, is of utmost importance. And then, of course, making sure that we give recognition to our teams. I wanted to just take a moment. I know that you're offering a complimentary gift to everyone that's related to your book. How about you take a moment and tell us a little bit more about that?
It's the audio copy to fast. So you get to hear my beautiful Yorkshire accent reading fast to you. And fast, it's about 2 hours long. It's a fairly short book, but it's like, leadership is simple but hard to do. So I give you all of the simple instructions, but now you have to go and do them. So
right.
as a book, I have people who've written to me and told me, I've read your book 4 or 5 times, because I get it and I understand the value, but sometimes I just need to go back and go, you know what, I need to let me just get this this right. And a lot of the things with the book is that the simpler, we want to make sure we've got a razor sharp focus. And we can focus on focus, but when we simplify things, that allows us to focus even more. When we have transparency into the whole process, that can actually tell us exactly where we need to focus. And when we want to hold people accountable, we've got to have transparency in the performance. Because if you don't have transparency in the performance, what are you holding them accountable for? So as you start to fix each area, it allows you to actually go deeper. So it becomes a spiral of improvement. So the simpler we keep it, the easier it is to focus. The more transparency, the easier it is to hold people accountable. The more transparency, the easier it is to see where we should focus. Mm-hmm. So it's a multiplier, and once you get into it, it will help you avoid failure and accelerate your drive to success and the results that you achieve.
Oh, well, I cannot wait to download it myself. So that will be, of course, linked down below this video. So please go ahead and download that. Gordon is being incredibly generous to offer the full audio version. And if you're anything like me, I prefer the audio version because that means I can listen to it on the go. So it makes it a lot easier to digest information, even when you may be multitasking or doing some other things. So I think that's incredibly, incredibly generous of you to offer that. Thank you so much, Gordon.
My goal is to help. As a leader, I want to help. I want to help put people in a position where they can be successful, and that's why I came up with. That's why I would say came up with FAST. But where it came from was I asked myself, do I have a process that I follow that I'm just not fully conscious of? And if I do, can I systematize it so I can teach it to other people? And what I found was I did that. There are 2 issues. We're either doing the wrong job or the poor job, and then depending on which one of those it is, it's a lack of focus, accountability, simplicity, or transparency. And if I fix those 4 things, so it's a simple, it's an easy to understand process. Not easy to do, but easy to understand, and it is a shortcut to success. And whilst I say it's not easy to do, it's easier than pretty much all of the other options.
Failure.
Yeah, well, no, but trying to understand and fix things, it can be difficult, but sure. We're talking about 3 simple questions: what, who, how. Right. What, who, how. If you've got those 3 right, everything, and a lot of people get those wrong. So they're simple questions to ask, but once you've asked them and you realize it's the wrong how, now you've got to fix it. But you'd have to fix it anyway. I just help you find and pinpoint the problem quicker.
Very good. Very, very
then
good.
then you need to fix it. But
You
a
know,
lot of the time, I get in, I am a turnaround expert, and I've been involved in a lot of projects. I've just done two for Fujitsu,
hmm,
and one of them was about a migration of site-to-site VPNs. What's a site-to-site VPN? I have no clue. I have no clue. And leadership, it's a people business. There were people on the project who knew what they were, and the same I did an Azure migration. And all of the things that I did was I put the people who knew what to do in a position where they could be successful. I didn't understand any of the technical aspects, and things in my experience are not failing because of technical aspects. They're failing because people are not being led. People are not being asked, you're an expert in this, how would you do it?
right.
So, I have no problem in saying, I don't know, but I'll help you guys figure it out. So leadership, it's all about the people. People know what to do.
To your point, you are a turnaround expert. You've been helping people, staff members of thousands of people, global teams that literally are from around the world because they're global. I'm curious, what do you consider to have been your secret weapon for success up until now? Because it's not easy to excel in all these different areas, to be published in all these major articles and publications, to be a 5-time author. These things take diligence and effort. And what is your secret sauce?
So I did a TED talk in French, and I talked about my 4 secrets for your big success. Aim high, start small, celebrate, keep going. And our persistence is a talent multiplier. And if we have a simple process, and we start small, that'll get us, motivated to start, inspired to start, and the celebration, that recognition will keep us going. But the thing to remember is that very few big successes require a big effort. The majority of big successes are an accumulation of small successes. So we have to break it down, slice the elephant and then eat it slice by slice. But have that persistence to first slice it and then keep eating every slice. So I've written 2,000 articles in a 5-year period. And people are like, oh my God, how do you do that? 1 a day for 5 years.
Fair enough.
1 a day is not a lot. The secret was doing it for 5 years. Anybody can write 1 article.
Right.
But it's that persistence to do it for 5 years. And I'm just good at pattern recognition. So, when I did the blogging, what I realized was that there's a formula to blogs. And there's a simple A times B formula. A is the concept, the principle. And B is the example, the context in which you can explain that principle. And the majority of people get stuck trying to come up with new concepts. Good luck with that. Seriously, good luck with that. Einstein had 2 concepts: special relativity, general relativity, one of the smartest people ever. And if you focus on concepts, you'll get stuck with writer's block. If you focus on examples and context, so all of the leadership principles, you can Google them, you can find them. Then what you're looking for is examples to explain it in a way that is both relevant and resonates with people.
That's brilliant.
And there are an unlimited number of examples. So if you're focused on examples to explain it, you'll have an unending supply. If you try and focus on concepts, good luck with that. You might get to 2, you might get to 3. You ain't getting to 2000. I wrote an article, and it's about changing our mindset and the way we view things. So I'm a big Ella Fitzgerald fan and a big Marilyn Monroe fan. My favorite female singer of all time. And I read this article about Ella Fitzgerald, how her and Marilyn Monroe were really good friends. And Ella Fitzgerald could only play in clubs of a certain level. She just couldn't make that breakthrough. And Marilyn Monroe called the biggest club in LA and just said, okay, I want you to book my friend Ella Fitzgerald every day next week. If you do that, I will turn up and I will sit on the front row and I will bring the press with me. And the club said, okay, we'll do that. Ella Fitzgerald played every single day and her career never turned back. And I read that article and I thought, okay, how can I use that?
Right.
3 leadership lessons from Marilyn Monroe. Nurture the talent you see, leverage your network to identify opportunities, make and meet commitments. So now I've written an article on leadership about Marilyn Monroe and Ella Fitzgerald, but I didn't think, what are the concepts? I know the concepts. So now I'm just looking for the examples and I can share them back and different combinations. And people say, but doesn't that mean that you're telling the same thing all the time? I said, well, yeah, but if you look at movies, boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy finds girl. There are 100,000 movie plots, but there's one where he's old, she's young. She's old, he's young. It's
right.
set in the 15th century. They're on a spaceship. He's black, she's white. She's white, he's black.
You name it.
and it's the way it's the details that we add to it that make it relevant and resonant with us. So now all I'm doing is I'm applying the same, and I can talk about leaders nurturing people or make commitments, meet commitments. I might find an article about Buddy Holly and Elvis Presley, and I might find 3 or 4 different components. But it's just about changing the way you see things and then sharing it. So because my goal is to help people understand. And I can talk about theory, but anybody who likes music will look at that and go, oh wow, yeah, nurture the people that we see every day. Okay, I can do that. Now I know what that means. Help my friends be better at what they do. Leverage my network. Are there any clubs that I can find? Are there any opportunities that I don't want that might help them?
Right.
It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. And a lot of people tell me, but you're wrong. And I went, yeah, but that's because you've got a PhD in leadership. You run a university course for 3 years and you want people to pay 70,000, 150,000 to learn leadership.
Mm-hmm.
You need it to be complicated.
Right.
For you to benefit. It isn't, and it doesn't have to be. And I'm happy to share simple ideas in a way that people can understand them, use them, and benefit from them.
Well, I think that is just the perfect, there's nothing else to say out from there. I really appreciate you being so candid with your comments here today. And, I know I learned a lot, and we certainly covered a lot of ground. A leader's role is not just to be this management of the tasks themselves,
so
but really someone
in a position to be successful.
Yes.
Make them feel good about themselves. Make them feel confident. Make them feel like they're going to get rewarded. And then when they do a good job, reward them. Give them the recognition. It's not rocket science.
Everybody, this is brilliant. It is not rocket science, but to Gordon's point, just because it's simple does not mean it's easy to implement. So do yourself a favor and go ahead and download the audio version of his book, Fast. I think that is an amazing gift that he's offering this audience for, for your time and your attention of tuning into this interview today. I know we only have about 5 minutes left, but, Gordon, any final thoughts before we sign off here today?
Yeah, just have that mindset of it's easier than you think. If you think of it as complicated, it will put you off trying. Think of it as easy. Think of it as easy. Ask yourself, somebody once asked me, give me 4 tips I could use right now to improve my leadership. Okay, here it goes. Smile more, listen more, talk more, praise more. When you smile, you make yourself approachable, you reduce the stress, you make people feel comfortable. When you listen, you show them respect, you make them feel valued. You might learn something. Seriously, you might learn something. Talk more. Tell people what it is we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it and why it's important. And then just praise more. Just praise more. Thank you for listening. Thank you for smiling when I smile. Whatever it is, just praise more. And if you do those 4 simple things, that will skyrocket your leadership. Seriously. Just those 4 simple things.
Thank you so much, Gordon, for sharing. I mean, I know I learned a lot. I know you saw me taking notes during this interview because it was just so, to your point, these concepts are simple, but I really appreciate the context and the examples that you shared, because those are the things that allow these concepts to really land from just a general level of awareness to a level where we can actually start to apply them in our day-to-day lives.
Understand them. If we understand it, right, we can apply it, and it's the context that allows us to understand it. If I was teaching 14-year-old boys percentages and statistics, I wouldn't be talking about if you bought a loaf of bread that's $1.50 and there was a 12% discount, how much would it be? I would say LeBron shot 11 of 15 threes. What's his shooting percentage? That's relevant and it's going to resonate with them.
You're like, I know what we're talking about now.
yeah, absolutely. I know how I can use it. When you're talking about discounted bread price,
they don't care.
I don't care. That's meaningless to me. So it's got to resonate. It's got to resonate and be relevant. And when we do that, people are more inclined to listen and understand.
Thank you so much for your time today, Gordon, and your willingness to share. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I know that everyone viewing has certainly enjoyed it as well. So again, one last plug. If you have not already gone and downloaded Gordon's book, please go ahead and click the link below this video and do so, because clearly he has obviously a wealth of experience in the real world, but he's also taken the time to put it into his 5th book and then offer it to us complimentary. So thank you again for your time, and it's been such a pleasure to have you.
My pleasure.